So guys, we are now officially in the week of Battlefield 6's release. In a mere few days, we are going to be diving headfirst into this new chapter for the Battlefield franchise that almost feels like this phoenix rising for said franchise. And look, under normal circumstances, I'd be excited as it is. You know, it's a new Battlefield game that seems to be pointing in the right direction on all fronts and is ticking a lot of boxes after some god-awful releases in the franchise. But for me personally, guys, this time around, these aren't normal circumstances. I'm not just a little bit excited for Battlefield 6. This is the most excited I have been about a game both personally and professionally in a very long time, possibly ever. I am ready for Battlefield 6. And I want to draw the curtains back a little bit as to why that is the case. The Battlefield franchise is one that, well, despite me getting into quite late in the piece with Battlefield Bad Company on the Xbox 360, is probably one that has had the most impact on my life in one way or another. Battlefield 3 was the straw that broke the camel's back and got me keen on building my first ever gaming PC way back when. And let me tell you guys, that was no easy task. Convincing my folks when I was 15 years old that a $2,500 gaming PC was a good purchase for someone my age, yeah, that was a mission to say the absolute least. But eventually I landed myself a gaming PC and Battlefield 3 was the first game I loaded up onto it. To go from a mere 24-player server on murky, blurry graphics to a 64-player server on some of the best graphics I had ever laid my eyes on was basically the equivalent of me getting the golden ticket to Charlie's Chocolate Factory, but for gamers. Gaming for me was changed forever. But it also represented that all-important gateway that also led to me starting content creation. 15-year-old me loved gaming so much that I wanted to find a way to share the passion with other people, and as someone who was already intrigued by the process of making videos and the art behind it, it made sense to start a YouTube channel. Anyways, I know I'm rambling a bit here, but this all sets the stage a little bit for, well, what the past 12 months has actually been. Because if you go back in time and tell 15-year-old me, as I started my YouTube channel and as I, started building a gaming PC, that this would be the kind of year I would have in the lead up to a brand new Battlefield game, I'd quite thinkly you were off your rocker and would laugh in your face. As some of you may know, my journey with Battlefield 6 actually kicked off all the way back in February this year, when I got an invite to go to the EA offices located here in Melbourne, Australia, and get some hands-on time with the next era of Battlefield. I haven't really talked about this trip a whole lot on the channel as of yet, so now is as good a time as any. I didn't really know what to expect. I was curious and keen to attend, of course, but given the email had landed in my inbox of all places in a time where my channel was pretty dormant, I thought, okay, this is likely to gonna have a pretty big media briefing of some description, and they'll likely have a big army of content creators representing as well. It's not gonna be a huge deal. I couldn't have been more wrong. This was an intimate, direct opportunity to liaise with EA with a very small subset of creators from our region, and when it was made very clear that we were the first in the region to ever get our hands on the game, yeah, my expectations changed for the trip quickly, and I thought, oh shit, what am I actually doing here? Like, what am I here for? Now, despite this, my shoulders were still pretty raised anyway, because, well, my hopes for Battlefield were still in the dirt after Battlefield 5 and 2042. But as we were about to head to the EA offices for the event itself, I had an experience that I haven't shared publicly at all, really, and I want to share it here in this video. I was waiting for my coffee in the hotel lobby, and funnily enough, the Battlefield 3 theme just started playing in my shuffled Spotify playlist randomly. And I remember thinking to myself, that's a funny coincidence, like whatever. But then immediately after that, Second Chance by Shinedown started playing. Now, if you don't know that song, I recommend pausing the video here, going off, giving it a listen, and coming back. Because the song playing after the Battlefield 3 theme started playing, which was the theme that played in the very first Battlefield Labs trailer that we saw at the very start of the year, it almost was to signify that this was a second chance for the Battlefield franchise. Now, I'm not a spiritual guy by any stretch, ladies and gentlemen, but when I tell you that the day that followed involved me playing a very early but very solid version of Battlefield 6 that felt like it went straight back to the roots of the franchise, and then having the opportunity to to jump on a call directly with David Serland and provide some direct, harsh, frank and fearless feedback, reflecting on those two songs playing like that at the start of the day definitely hits me in a different way now to where we are today. But anyway, that was neither here nor there. I went home after having played a very early but very promising version of the new Battlefield game. I got to meet some very cool people, and I was left with the promises from my EA reps that more was coming and that they would be in touch. Now, when I heard that, I thought that game codes, preview events at my home PC, so on and so forth would be what they meant by that. And then in May, I got another email, one that read Battlefield 6 Multiplayer Reveal Event Attendance, LA. When I tell you that my jaw dropped to the ground, know that I meant it, guys. I knew that some opportunities were coming as a result of the Melbourne trip, as I said before, but I never would have guessed that was coming. And just to be clear, folks, prior to this, I had never been out of Australia or had flown internationally at all. This was going to be my first ever international trip. Let me tell you, I had never booked annual leave at my job so fast in my life. I basically got on the phone to my boss and said, I have to take these days off. I can't tell you why, I can't tell you where, but I have to take these days off. Thankfully, they were pretty cool about that, so props to my work. But having that opportunity to be a part of a very select crew that was representing the OCE region at an event of that scale, to be one of 200 content creators chosen to represent at that event more broadly, to, meet so many content creators and industry legends that have either inspired me or have had a big part in creating so many games that I grew up playing, to see what this side of the industry looks like at this scale, it was nothing short of incredible, guys. True bucket list stuff. By this point, I had already had the pleasure of meeting and hanging out with Pastilli, Barjo, Sammy Boy, Silk, and Too Much Cyanide, to name a few, in Melbourne. And then in LA, I had the pleasure of adding Red Ops, Roizer, Norza, Level Cap, Two Angry Gamers, Stode, Westy, Tomographic, Jack Frags, Wolf from Work, Big Fry, Maxic, and Vince Sempella to that list. People who are legends in the Battlefield space, but are also just really great human beings to grab a drink with too behind closed doors. And to anyone that I did meet on that LA trip who happens to stumble across this video, it was an absolute pleasure meeting you over the course of the weekend. You guys were actually a big part in making the weekend memorable and being a part of the experience for me, so yeah, I really thank you for that. But of course we were there for the game, and I had already had great impressions from what I saw in Melbourne, but, and I mean this with all the respect I can possibly muster, we were dealing with EA here. We all knew that there was a chance that this could be fumbled between now and then, and, well, the nerves were still a bit high as a result that, things could be screwed up. And thankfully, that was not the case. We got our hands on the game and what was essentially the open beta build that you all would soon play, and things were even better. Tighter, more polished, more in line with what Battlefield should be. It wasn't perfect by any stretch, but a growing consensus in the room was that the build that we were playing in LA ahead of release was actually more polished and better from a gameplay perspective than what Battlefield 2042 was today. That is saying a lot. And after an immensely successful reveal stream, an incredible after party, and an opportunity to meet one of my longtime moderators and community members, Boozer TR, much love to you, brother, yeah. I left that trip on cloud fucking 9, a memory that I will hold with me for the rest of my life. Which basically leads us to where we are today, guys. 5 days from the launch, a few more capture sessions and preview events, a streaming event at Fortress Gaming Bar in Sydney, but now it's launch time, or at least very close to it. And as a content creator and a gamer, I've never felt more ready for the release of a game in my life. Being a part, albeit a very small part, but a part of this Battlefield 6 journey from pre-release to full launch is something that I never would have dreamed of achieving. And having that chance to be a part of that is something that I owe thanks, of course, to you guys in the community for. I've had some incredible opportunities in my content creator career at some point, and I've also had some really hard lessons thrown my way as well. But now I feel more ready than ever. I feel more ready than ever to capitalize on a game like this from a content creation perspective, but I also feel like it's just a great opportunity to ride the wave and have a lot of fun with you guys. The first-person shooter industry more broadly has been really rough as of late. We've not been getting many games out here that have been true wins. Battlefield 6 is shaping up to be that win that we are very much really hungering for, I think. And I'm personally super excited to be a part of that community that gets to ride that wave and enjoy what the game has to offer. But being in that privileged position to have not just an impact on how the game turns out, but to be a part of everything that leads up to this game's launch and, you know, being constantly invited to really cool events and getting to meet really cool people through those events. Yeah, life-changing stuff, everyone, and I hope that this next chapter for all of us is an exciting one as well. And again, I thank you all so much for being here, supporting me, riding out this wave with me, because it, in a way, has led me to being ready for this game's launch in more ways than one. So, yeah. Let's take it by the balls, guys. Let's get ready for Battlefield 6. Let's enjoy it all together. And I really hope to see you guys in the next few videos as we celebrate Battlefield 6's launch. Take care, guys. Have a good one. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon. Peace, guys.